Often I am asked, what does a hero truly need? Much depends upon the hero.
Even after years since I first played my first game of Dota and thousands of hours invested in perfecting it, I still vividly remember my very first match. It felt like something completely unfamiliar. It was a genre I wasn't completely familiar with, even though I had played Dota back in Warcraft 3 days. But Dota 2 pushed that envelope and created what is quite possibly the most entertaining esport at the moment. Sure, there's League of Legends, which brings in millions of fans and other things like that, but Dota 2 has pushed the envelope of what it really means to be in an esports tournament. The International brings in tens of millions of dollars and pays out to gamers who have dedicated their lives to this craft. It's really an impressive feat, and seeing them play is something beyond imagination. Now for those that are uninformed about Dota, League of Legends, Smite, games like that, they're part of the MOBA genre. MOBAs are basically multiplayer online battle arenas, and to put it simply, it's kinda hard to explain. Imagine a fighting game where you have to choose from hundreds of characters, each with their own set of skills, attributes, and look. Then you get grouped up with a team of 4 other people and set off against a group of 5 other fighters. The basic goal of a MOBA is to build up your character through experience, leveling up kind of like an RPG, and then bring your team to victory by claiming the opposing team's ancient, or basically destroying their base. Once you're able to do that, you obtain victory, but the game plays out a little different than most FPSs and other games like it, where there's pure chaos and somebody can be a true hero just by themselves. Rather, Dota forces you to think strategically, as every mistake you make costs you and helps the other team get one step closer to victory. The exciting thing about the game though is that there's so many turnaround moments and so many things that really change the way you play. And going back to when I started, it was back when 6.XX, basically the series version that ran for 10 years, was available. What is really important now is after a whole decade of 6, we finally reached 7, which version update 7 is supposed to bring brand new change, and before I even play it, I'm a little hesitant because whenever there's sweeping changes such as what I've heard about, like certain things that make it play more like Heroes of the Storm, it's a little scary that my game that I've loved for so long may have changed completely. It's not necessarily a bad thing because change is good, but it is a little fear-inducing because the whole thing that I loved about it, the strategy and everything else, could be gone, and it could have become a game that's absolutely garbage in comparison. Basically, when I booted the game up for the first time in 7.0, it was like a completely different experience. Dota 2 and the 6.8 and everything did seem about the same up until Reborn, but this one really hit hard. So the same Reborn UI and like the kind of HUD for the pre-game kind of stuff. And once you got into it and started messing around, especially with the new features that were added in, including the Monkey King, which by the way is really cool, I could see that there was a lot new in the game. The first startling change that I noticed was that it had a brand new kind of more arena-focused UI. That is to say, it isn't exactly covering everything. It's trying to be as minimalistic as possible to give you the full view of the battlefield. It did get some getting used to, however, as I messed around again with the Monkey King, just kind of messing around with his moves, and it almost looked like it was zoomed out a little more than usual. After I played around with the Monkey King a bit, I waited for my friends to get on, and as I waited, I watched a few matches and saw all the new map changes. A lot of what Dota is focused around is how the map is structured. There are certain key points you can go after to gain advantages over your enemies, and these were completely reworked, and it's interesting to see how the game can be changed just with a simple map adjustment, and how the game can be changed by moving one enemy to another place, or how carving one more lane into the jungle can change how people play. A lot of what was unique about Dota was actually its map design. However, when it changes every few iterations, it's kind of tough to get the hang of it. This is really what puts Dota over the edge, as competitive players have to learn and adapt to these new maps, to these new changes, and get good again. Basically after that, I waited for my friends for a bit, and once they finally got on, which felt like forever, we ended up playing a match just to test things out, dip our feet in the water, so to say. One of the interesting things about 7.0 is actually the pre-game screen looks completely rehauled. Like, you get to pick your characters, look through them, see how everything works. They have a little mechanic on the bottom to show, hey, this team composition works this way, with durability, ganking, escape, and certain other metrics put in there so you have an idea of how to make an ideal team. As we ended up picking everything, what was even more surprising was the game loaded in the background. That meant we didn't have to wait too long to start playing. Rather, we got right in, and that's kind of where things began to fall apart, because as much as I would like the new map and seeing it, Playing on the new map, moving around, adjusting to the new shop and everything was a little different. My friends and I all agreed that there was something a little off about the new UI and a little off about everything that we were doing. Like just moving through the map, my wireless mouse seemed to stick a little bit. I couldn't tell it was from me capturing or maybe just because the game itself had to readjust to the new map and the new textures in there. As I walked around, even some text didn't pop up correctly, which is, again, day one patch is gonna happen, but after so much time in development, I'm guessing they have to have an idea of what would work and what wouldn't work. Although once you put anything into the hand of gamers, we're gonna break it. It almost looked like our opponents also were getting used to it, as they were making rookie mistakes just like we were. I mean, I could barely walk into lane and click on creeps for a while, and I had to readjust to last hitting, or basically how you get gold in the game reliably. The thing about Dota is it's really intricate, meaning that once you learn certain steps, it keeps with you for the rest of the time. I've played it for 2,500 hours, and I felt like I was relearning the game even though I had all this experience under my belt. That's how much of a change 7.0 ended up being. It was something beyond expectations, but it did end up working out in a way. Now the major difference between 6.8, whatever version you played, and 6.xx as well as 7 was the heroes. The heroes now had different ways of leveling up. Basically, each hero usually would get 3 skills and an ult. Basically, the ult was all powerful, while the 3 skills did different things for each hero that matched along their origin and everything else. However, the ult system actually lets you level up and get attribute points every other level, while 7.0 says basically like here's the storm, you have a skill tree. So instead of getting stats, I could basically pick between upgrading my magic resistance or upgrading something else, which I forgot what it is now. It was something that was very different for the game, but it changed it just enough to make it more viable. Now, I'm not too sure about if this is actually a change, but gold felt a lot different in the game. It felt like we were getting it at a really rapid rate. Imagine playing Final Fantasy and you're getting gil normally, like 10 gil a person. Then the next time you play, suddenly you start getting like 20, 30, 40 gil a person. It starts stacking up, and after a while you have a surplus of money, and the whole time we were thinking, man, we are rich right now. I guess games are supposed to be a little faster. What's really unique about Dota 2 though is as we kept playing, we started to feel that whole thrive, and we started working together as a team and learning the new map. Even though every ability that we were using was basically about the same, the augmentations used in the skill tree changed everything about the game for us. This forced us to actually have to learn and relearn the game that we had played for so long. Near the middle of the game, both teams seemed to acclimate to it, however, and it became more of a game of who's going to kill who next and which person's going to make the next move. This is where the real excitement of Dota and teamwork come in, because without teamwork, Dota can't exist. There's a lot of games out there now that kind of focus more on you as the hero, you as the person that can do whatever you want, that you can carry a whole team by yourself. And while Dota has some of this, there are not many times that you can get as good of a feeling as you do when working with a team to accomplish a goal. The goal of Dota still remains the same. It's to crush your enemies, defeat the Ancient, and work together as a team to overcome adversity. Basically, they didn't change the core of the game, but they made everything around it that much better. To say this is just a first impression more than just a kind of roundup may be unfair, however, I do think that this game should be enjoyed by more people. There's a bit of a learning curve, but Dota 2 is one of those few experiences where when you rush into an enemy's camp and begin blowing things up, it feels like the biggest rush in the world. Now, I've never made a touchdown on an NFL field, or I've never hit a home run in Wrigley Stadium. That's the thing, right? It feels to me like my home run or my touchdown every time that Ancient blows up and there's a big V for victory for our team. Dota 2 7.0 does not change everything, but it definitely changes the way the game is played and accentuates the whole fact that you need a good team behind you to win any kind of victory.
Of course we won. How could it be otherwise?